On this week's episode of the Red and Gold Report, we're going to be reviewing the Chiefs' victory over the Raiders this weekend. We're going to be looking at the recent Chiefs news around Chiefs Kingdom, including the team losing out on a big name free agent, and we're going to be looking forward to next week's game. So, what was the storyline of the game this week? Well, it was pretty simple. Mahomes got back to being Magic Mahomes. Patrick had been enduring weeks of criticism from national sports media talking heads who often sounded like drunk 3-year-olds.
What have we done with Patrick Mahomes? Where is he and what has happened to him?
He's broken. Patrick Mahomes is broken.
But on Sunday night, Mahomes went off. He finished the game with 406 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he was just plain having fun out there. While it wasn't a perfect game for him, he had excellent accuracy, good touch, and we got to see that creative playmaking from him once again, including a left-handed pass on the first drive. The story of the game actually started a little slowly for the Chiefs, who were still tied with the Raiders with 8.5 minutes left in the second quarter. The Raiders were able to keep the game pretty close for the rest of the first half, but, well, after a big second half of Mahomes going off, the Chiefs pulled away with a commanding 41-14 victory over their rivals. It's hard to overstate the importance of this victory for the Chiefs. The Chiefs went into Vegas playing a divisional rival in a tight division, and they came away with a victory that earned them moving from third to first in the AFC West standings and earned them a 3-game winning streak. But that probably wasn't the only streaking happening this weekend in Las Vegas. Player of the game was who else? Well, it was Patrick Mahomes. But of course, plenty of other Chiefs excelled on Sunday night in the big win. On offense, Travis Kelce was Kelce-esque. He caught 8 passes for 119 yards. He looked fantastic with the ball in his hands after the catch. Darrell Williams had a good game. While he didn't run the ball well outside of one 22-yard carry, he did have a fantastic game receiving. He ended the game leading the team in receptions, going over 100 yards receiving, and he made an incredible catch on a deep route early in the fourth quarter on this desperation 50-50 ball that was thrown deep downfield. Tyreek Hill also had a good game, ending with 2 touchdowns and 83 yards. Hill is now tied for the most receiving touchdowns in the NFL since 2017 with 49 touchdowns through the air. The offensive line was fantastic Sunday night. They did not allow a single sack to a pretty good Raiders defensive line. Orlando Brown, Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney each turned in exceptional pass blocking efforts, and even though they were playing with a third-string right tackle, the unit only allowed 9 pressures on the game. And you know what? Right guard Trey Smith, he's grading as a top 10 guard in the NFL, and he continues to grade as the best rookie guard in the entire league. This offensive line is really starting to gel into one of the best lines in football, and all of those resources that were invested in the offseason are paying off. And of course, we have to mention Tommy Townsend's excellent throw on that trick punt for a first down. Yeah, that was our punter out there looking like a QB. Moving over to defense, let's talk about the defensive players who excelled. Defensive tackle Jarran Reed really has struggled this season, but he had his best game as a Kansas City Chief. He had a sack and 3 pressures. L'Jarius Sneed played well, particularly with some excellent tackles and some stops in the run game and even a tackle for loss. Backup safety Armani Watts, who hasn't seen the field a ton this season, well, he played well on special teams and he led the team in tackles on defense. Corner Rashad Fitton also played well, forcing a fumble and allowing only a 56 passer rating against him. Somehow, no one in the NFL is noticing that Fenton is grading as the league's second best corner, according to PFF this season. And hey, I got to mention, though the defense has been atrocious this season, they actually played really well Sunday night. Yes, I know that the Raiders are still reeling from off-field issues, but the D still held a Derek Carr-led offense to just under 300 yards, just 50 yards of rushing, just 14 points, just 1 for 9 on third down, and they held the excellent Raiders tight end, Darren Waller, to only 24 yards of receiving. It was not an A+ for the defense, but you know what? Man, a B+ seems like a huge victory for our struggling D this season. season. Also, we got to mention the fans, Chiefs fans. We traveled, right? I mean, I think there were nearly as many Chiefs fans at the game as Raiders fans in Vegas. So that's who played well Sunday night. On the flip side, who struggled? Well, wide receiver Mecole Hardman had a nondescript game. He was supposed to be the Chiefs' number 2 wide receiver this season, but again, he looked kind of like the 5th option, and he got stopped short of a touchdown he really should have had. Frank Clark had another game where he only looked marginally interested in playing football, collecting 0 sacks and only 1 tackle. And I gotta bring up Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann was targeted 6 times in the game and allowed a passer rating of over 118. And he just continued to struggle with being visibly frustrated, some negative body language, which is not helpful since he's one of the leaders of the defense. But that's enough criticism. It was a great game for the Chiefs, and a lot of Chiefs had excellent nights. Moving on, how about a couple of insights that you may have missed during the game? One insight is the improvement of left tackle Orlando Brown. Now, Brown, of course, was acquired in the offseason from Baltimore in a trade where the Chiefs coughed up a first-round draft pick. But early in the season, as he transitioned from the Ravens' power blocking scheme over into the Chiefs' mostly zone blocking scheme, he kind of struggled. For the first quarter of the season, he really struggled with footwork, technique, and foot speed. But over the last few weeks, he's really been turning a corner. He's looked more and more steady, like that steady presence that you need at left tackle, and he looks like the kind of player that you would surrender a first-round pick for. He had a great game. Another insight not to miss was part of the reason why Mahomes was so much better Sunday night. Coming into this game, Mahomes had 10 interceptions, but if you watch the games, you know that 9 of those were on plays where he was holding the ball too long, scrambling, just trying to make something happen. However, on Sunday night, he played within the system. He took the intermediate throws the defense was giving him. He even took some checkdowns, and he got into a rhythm instead of just trying to artificially extend plays. That all added up to avoiding those costly interceptions. Another insight to notice is how the team has been using their defensive line personnel these last few weeks. After the signing of free agent defensive end Melvin Ingram from Pittsburgh, the longtime Charger, well, the assumption was that Chris Jones would bounce back inside full-time to defensive tackle, which is his natural spot. Mostly that's been true, but it's been a bit more complicated. Both Jones and Ingram have been spending time at both end and tackle. Now, if you have spent way too much of your life studying the NFL draft, well, like I have, then you know that Melvin Ingram was drafted in the first round by the Chargers in 2012. He had been used both as a tackle and an end in college, and the Chiefs seemed to be taking advantage of that versatility. There were even a few snaps where Ingram was dropping into coverage on zone blitzes as he lined up as a defensive tackle. And it let the team rotate starting defensive tackle Jarran Reed in and out for breathers. So while Ingram isn't showing up huge on the stat line, his mid-season addition has been enormous for the struggling defensive line because it gives them so many more options and flexibility. So there's a few insights that you may have missed watching the game. So with the Raiders game out of the way, let's move on to the recent Chiefs news. The big recent news in Chiefs Kingdom was that the Chiefs lost out on free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., who was cut by the Browns and ultimately signed with the Rams last week. Now, it was rumored that the team was really interested in signing OBJ. And I know that there were some Chiefs fans who were really upset missing out on him, but don't be. While he's a huge name, I mean, everybody knows OBJ, right? He hasn't really been a big difference maker on the field since 2016. So if you're upset that they missed out on the signing, don't be. In other news, Pro Football Focus recently released its midseason All-Pro team. Rookie offensive center Creed Humphrey of the Chiefs made the first team All-Pro team, meaning he is graded out as the very best center in the NFL as a rookie. So congrats to Creed. And then the only other player who appeared on the list was Tyreek Hill, who made it on the second team All-Pro team for PFF. In other news, starting right tackle Mike Remmers was officially moved to the injured reserve last week. With Lucas Niang also hurt, Andrew Wiley has been plugged into the lineup again. He struggled 2 weeks ago, but he did play better this week. However, on a rebuild offensive line, right tackle has been an issue all season, kind of the only weakness on the offensive line. I would love for the team to consider bringing back former All-Pro right tackle Mitchell Schwartz, if he's healthy, of course, because hey, he's still a free agent. With that news wrapped up, let's turn to next Sunday afternoon when the Chiefs are going to be playing the Cowboys at Arrowhead. The Cowboys are one of the best teams in the NFL. They're 7-2, and they're coming off a blowout win against the Falcons. Look, I am thrilled with the Chiefs' 3-game winning streak. Thrilled. But we beat a bad Giants team that was missing its best 2 offensive players. We beat a Packers team that was missing Aaron Rodgers. We just beat a Raiders team that lost its head coach and 2 former first-round draft picks for off-field issues in the weeks before the game. It was kind of an interesting 3-game stretch. But this week versus Dallas is different. Dallas is good. They're not facing those issues. It's going to be a good test for the team. But, oh man, I am really hoping the Chiefs can defeat Jerry's team. With a victory, even though the Chiefs have been struggling this season, they would somehow, if they beat Dallas, they would somehow head into their bye week with a 7-4 winning record and with a 4-game winning streak and at the top of the AFC West. I mean, it would be huge. It would be huge for the Chiefs. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Red and Gold Report. Take a second real quick to like, subscribe, follow, and all of those good things on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for watching, and go Chiefs!